Hello, everybody. This is Peter from Vader. You're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview with Sonic Perspectives. My name is Samantha, and today I am joined by Piotr, frontman of the Polish death metal band Vader. It's great to have you here today, Piotr, and I'm really excited to talk about your upcoming album, Solitude and Madness. So I guess I really just want to get started by talking about your inspiration for the album and a bit about the concept behind it. What really drives this album?
Being a composer, a creator, a musician. So it's really hard to say about it. Influence, inspirations, because actually it's my life. However trivial it sounds, but it's true. Everything around me is inspiration in the moment, So included, reading, books, knowing the world, watching the situation around, everything. So all the songs created is just a part, like a little piece of my life, my emotions, like thoughts, or something like that, just put in some notes or lines, and you can interpret it in some personal way, of course, because this is a way we create, so we leave that spot for interpretation. So I write stories, my thoughts I put into stories, so this is not like biography in the lyrics or something like that. But all in all, this is how I create for almost 4 decades, so it's actually, I'm just more experienced after all those years, better as a musician, as a man, I hope, know better how to use equipment and how to use a studio to record the album I wish to record, But all in all, decision is good or not, it's not on my side, fans will decide, that's a good thing.
Did you see any big artistic changes on this album, either in terms of how you did the songwriting or what the final sound ended up being, at least compared to your prior albums?
Artistic? Nah, not really. No, we have Vader, we follow the way we choose like a long time ago. And of course we evolve, we challenge, but there's of course some limits, for that. So we're not just trying to discover, the new land, discover America again. Just trying to evolve as Vader, just so we try to put some new ideas, some new vibes, on the same spirit, Sound, that's something new, because after 15 years of working and cooperating in Heart Studio with Wisławski brothers and Heart Studios in Poland, so it was about the time to change the land. So we moved to England to Grindstone Studios. We were working with Scott Adkins, and actually that's the biggest challenge and biggest change in the sound. So Scott motivated us. Scott just gave something new to the main sound, First of all, it was like much more natural sound, like on drums, which we started with. Then, the guitars and the bass, it's more separated. It's like the guitars sound more sharp and clear, more bright, compared to some previous releases. So all in all, definitely for those fans who knows us since rather last productions, let's say 2 decades, it might be something different, something more brutal and faster. But for those fans who follow us since the very beginning, it's a little bit step back to the times where we focus more on speed and brutality and intensity. And that was a tag for Vader back then. And of course, we still a brutal band. We did not change that totally. But for the last 2 decades, there was much more different song on the albums. The last one, Solitude and Madness, is my opinion. It's my feeling. It's closer to Litany, Black to the Blind, those albums where speed was more priority, pretty intense shortcuts, very blasting, this kind of stuff.
As you're saying, this album definitely focuses a lot on that speed. A lot of these tracks are short, they're very fast. You really don't have slow songs on this album. So was that a conscious decision when you started the writing process, or did it just happen naturally?
Naturally, the album would be just fast, but actually, I just a little bit forced myself just to add those 3 songs that were slower on the album. Maybe the last one is a little bit different, way different story. A little bit example. It's Bones, the song that crowns the album, the slowest one. It's kind of like keeping the tradition. Usually for last albums, the last song on the album usually were slower on the slowest, even if first I wanted just to follow the same way, but all in all at the end, so I just kept that, tradition, and the last one is the slowest song on the album, and that's the fresh one, the new one. But the other 2, actually, the first I didn't want to include them on the album. The song Emptiness, this one is actually a leftover after the Empire session. So we have just all the songs collected and the album was complete. So some riffs like this one, the main riff for the Empire, so I just kept for later. And we used that song on the Messenger EP that was released the last year. But all in all those songs that was released on this EP was supposed to be, new album, but just because the album was so much delayed, so I just decided just to leave some tracks on that release only. Emptiness, actually, because the riffs are so different to the main core of Solitude Madness, the new album. So I decided to leave it, at least on the side B, just to give that little bit breath, for the listener, not just leave them just like flowing with that blast beat all the time, And the other one is a song called Dancing in the Slaughterhouse, and this is cover song, which we recorded for a special release. The band Ace Drinkers, which covers that one, they were about to release a tribute album. It's a kind of compilation of covers recorded by their friends, and we're among those. And we were in the studio, so we actually liked the idea. We recorded the song, but after we recorded it, so we liked that it sounded just so much old schoolish, like a bit like thrash metal sound from '80s. So we decided just to leave it on the album as a permanent song. Don't do that kind of bonus or whatever. So that's just like a main story, shortly speaking.
So Dance in the Slaughterhouse is a cover, and if we go back to Thy Messenger, you also included a cover on that. How do you feel that doing covers challenges you as an artist, and what do you enjoy most about doing them?
It's not about challenging. It's more about like keeping the old spirit. Some bands, they were our classic, music for metalheads. Not just for me. And Vader since the very beginning. So we are walking that way, and we just keeping the spirit alive, especially for the new generations, of metalheads, So sometimes if we record some special edition, or if we got a chance like to record a bonus track, we do some covers of those bands like we respect. And on the Messenger, we used Judas Priest's Stealer from the iconic album British Steel. So this album was one of the first I ever heard, and actually this is one of those that actually made Vader happen, because of the cover of the album, I met a friend of mine back in '82, and actually because of that we started Vader, and a year after that meeting. So just symbolic meaning to me, but definitely much more than just symbolic meaning for metal history. And this year the Judas Priest is going to have a 50th anniversary, so it's about the time to bring back some memories, spirit again. So that was just our respect with doing this cover on the Messenger EP. And all the covers were actually pretty much the same story. So we feel respect, and we just want to keep the fire and just remind the important covers sometimes. This is still additional, so this is nothing, like you mentioned, challenging, and nothing like we're not going to change the music. We want to just keep the music alive, and just like in classical music, musicians have their own iconic persons, like Beethoven, Bach, Chopin or, more. So we have, Priest, Maiden, Slayer, and more, So it's just absolutely a nice thing just to bring them back. And of course, these songs are pretty good to jam together on stage. So that's pretty often when we touring. So we play those. Sometimes, we had some guests on stage. This is brotherhood. Metal was always brotherhood to me. Jamming, playing covers is just like one of those nice things that we can do together.
You've talked a lot about this old school sound and how Vader really ties into that. And I see that more than ever on Solitude and Madness. You have that very old school cover art. The music video for Into Oblivion has a lot of that older style. So I guess just what does old school mean to you? And how do you keep, carrying the old school torch in the modern age?
It's hard to talk about old school to me, because to me, actually, it's everything, natural. I remember those days when everything was just for the first time. So if I call this old school, because I know that this is so much different for some new generation fans of music, and also for Vader. And I know that something changed in the meantime. Metal business grow up. Also, the music became so different. There's in the past we had just metal, and even if there were bands playing a bit different, we still call them metal. Then years after, just to feel elite, to feel different. So we started to different names, and with extreme metal came thrash metal, then black metal, because of some satanic vibes in the music, let's say that shortly. Death metal, which actually was to me same like thrash metal. Just I think this name became trendy, and just almost everybody started to use that one. And in my opinion, this fits perfect to the music Vader played. That actually I adopted that name for the style. But if you call Vader thrash or black or heavy metal, it's still all right, because it is. Today, there's too many bands that even sound non-metal. If I could compare the times, to 80s, in those days, some bands that that's very popular today, they wouldn't be even called metal, because they sound, the image, everything is absolutely different, But this is what I'm trying to say. The metal today is just so wide in the style, itself. It's not just something which is strong and heavy with screaming vocal. It's so many different bands in this one, place called heavy metal. For us, if I call something old school, it means it reminds something I remember from the old days. It's different to something which is present today. And actually, this is, I don't really want just to feel that old, just to name everything with old school. And even if I know I am, but the music actually is fresh, So we have the younger persons in the band, not just me. And actually, which is, I think, the biggest success of the band is that after so many years, we still bring new fans, and actually this different names, bringing back the name old school actually is for them, It's, to me, it's pretty natural, just trying to express myself in that,
You did mention that you have some younger people in the band, and this lineup has been one of the most consistent throughout the band's history. So how has keeping this lineup contributed to how you approach songwriting and the dynamics of touring?
As you can see, differences in character and even age does not mean the problems in the bands. If we create a pretty good working team, and we can still play on stage and in the studio to work together and just create some good music. And, the way of creation actually did not change that much. It's still, the process is still pretty much the same. We still start with the drumming, and we still actually work hardest, together with the drummer, because me as a composer, let's say, and of course I'm speaking about my songs created by me. It's the same probably with Spider. Spider broke 2 songs on this album, and he was working with drummer too. And this is a time when we're starting, we're just creating the backbone of the song. And this is actually the most intense part of our work in the studio, you know. And then we just adding just this when we start to record, you know, vocal and bass and the guitars, leads and everything. So actually we mix that just to make the whole session a little bit more interesting, like without forcing just voices or hands with playing one instrument like it was so popular in the past, you know. It's not necessary just to start and do everything just step by step like this, like the drums, guitars, bass, vocal, like that. You know, so we can mix the work after the drums are done. And so since actually we started to play together, and you mentioned, right, that this lineup is the most stable lineup in the history of Vader. So we together like 9 years, if I remember good. And all these albums which were like recorded in the past actually created in pretty much the same way. In the process of recording, nothing really changed.
I've noticed that you've referred to yourself as a creator, a composer, and a musician throughout this interview. So I was just wondering, do you see these all as a single identity, or do you tend to separate them from one another?
This is just one thing. You know, I'm a fan of music. I enjoy metal. And the only difference is like after I got it was just not enough just to listen to music. I started to play and then to create songs, you know. That was in the past, of course, like some like decade after that. So when we decided, actually, that was a choice, you know, in life. We decided to stay as a professional musician so we can focus on the music, and actually music, the band is our job, is our life. So if we're not recording, we're not just creating the music in the studio. So we playing this music on stage live. And actually this is the main part of Vader existence, tourings. And if we record albums in between, it's just to have new songs to play them live. So this is pretty natural. So I'm just like all these you know, factors you just mentioned, like musician, fan, composer, singer, guitarist. That's actually one for me, you know.
Touring is such a huge part of Vader's identity. So what are you most looking forward to touring with the new album? Is there a particular song that you're most looking forward to playing?
You know, it's like, I think I'm looking just to play shows, you know, at the moment. So we're in so like global situation. So it's really hard to say like when we will be able to just play live. Hope sooner than later. First, I'm waiting for the new album to be released soon, and then we will see, you know. And the album is not that long. It's like 30 minutes long, so we are able just to play actually the whole album. Probably will not. So there will be definitely like usually like 70-80% of the songs we're going to play on the first tour, just to play fresh songs, to bring back the new album on stage. We'll see, you know. The fans will decide which songs they do prefer, and this is how we do usually.
Given that you do have such an extensive discography, and with this new album, how do you usually go about picking set lists with so many things to choose from?
It's really hard to create a set list for 1 hour or like even 1.5 hours set. After so many albums recorded, our fans, they have their own favorite songs, and Vader is not the band that created like 5 or 10 songs that we still like played over and over again. So because it's not possible to play even half of them. Technically, it's not possible. We're just trying, you know, to bring something new if we are promoting the new album, and mix this one with some older hits, you know. So it's not easy, trust me. Like we recorded that many songs that sometimes it takes days to decide like which songs we're going to keep in the set list. Usually we create like 3 of them, and we play them like in different order, just to, it's better for fans, you know, and it's better for us because it's really boring just to play the whole show and with the same set all the time. So we really enjoy the music we do, and it's not kind of routine, and it shouldn't be. and the changing, you know, the songs from show to show, sometimes it's just also kind of fun for us, not just for fans. It's not easy, but I think we can deal with that, and we're still trying to satisfy as many fans as possible, you know.
You mentioned that you're always changing set lists and that you're doing things to keep yourself, just to make things a bit more exciting. But As an artist, do you have any creative outlets outside of Vader?
I'm too busy with a band, actually. I had some projects, but that was just more like for fun, I think. So that was a band called like Panzerax, and so that was still metal. We just wanted just to focus more on the classical play, and more heavy metal, classical heavy metal. And I just asked some friends of mine, just as more projects. So we just met in the studio, recorded like 4 or 5 songs, and it was released like two years after on like mini album. But I know that some fans, they ask for more, but I'm really too busy like to do anything like besides Vader. It's really hard to find time. It's really Vader's really busy band, especially if we're talking about touring. So I do not really have that much time just to work on anything else. I'm sometimes a guest on some appearance, some songs and friendly bands. The other guys from the band, they have their own projects or their own bands. They sometimes trying to bring back. Spider, was before he joined Vader, he used to play in a band called Esquarial. Lately, after we are forced to be grounded house, like he decided he found out like the idea just to record in the house some new tracks for Esquarial just for fun, just to bring back the name, And Jamie, he used to play in Divine Chaos before, but he also was just too busy just to be active with the band. So I know the band has also kind of the session drummer for playing shows or something like that to make the shows possible at all. Jimmy's the busiest guy, actually in the band at the moment, because like I usually take all this problems with interviews with the creativity, preparing the programs and things. And Jimmy got a little bit of time, so he can just focus on giving some drum lessons, helping in arranging some festival and shows in the city he's living in the moment, and just regular life for musicians or just regular people. If we get a little bit more time to spend, besides the band,
Seems like there's a lot keeping you all busy. And given what I'm sure will be a very intense touring schedule for this album, once bands can start touring again, what do you see being the future for Vader?
First, we have to know how's that situation going to be with the pandemic, because this problem blocks, everything globally. So first of all, we all waiting for virus to be killed, and if we all know the only way just to erase that problem for the moment is just to stay separated in the flesh, to stay home and do not go anywhere to meet all the people and to avoid of spreading the disease. But, after that, we will cooperate, and after we will understand the situation, like why we have to be disciplined and just to stay home, and the virus will be killed and the life will get back on trail. Definitely, all the bands in the world will start to tour again. It's going to become messy in the first month probably, but, we're still creating plans. Actually, at the moment, the first shows we're planning for September, and that will be the first hit with the new album tour in Europe. And we plan US tour with a new album for January 2021. But, all in all, everything depends on the situation. So if we will need just to wait a little bit more, then everything will be delayed.
Well, let's hope that it resolves so you guys can get back on the road, because this album is definitely one that will be exciting for a live show.
Oh, definitely. I always love to play short cuts, on stage, because this is so emotional. So we already played one song that was released as a first single. It's called Shock and No, and that was on this last tour we made in US. It was the last tour we made till the end, before the pandemic started and all the borders were locked down. It looked like the fans really, really enjoyed that one. So I can't wait for next, trip with more from Solitude and Madness. It's a good album to play live, and definitely can't wait just to show them in action.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, everybody. Stay well, stay healthy, and just let's meet together as soon as possible.
You just heard an interview with Piotr of death metal legends Vader. For more interviews like this one and more daily content, be sure to follow Sonic Perspectives on Facebook and Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel. To leave you all with a taste of what Vader has in store, this is the first single off Solitude and Madness, titled Shock and Awe.
What do you have to say? For the devil sits to rough with me. I am fire and the sword of hell. And they come to take my feet. There is no escape. No mercy here. Just so unfair. My breath is burning and they live no life at all. My demons roar upon the skies. I couldn't let themselves fear me. Arise. Knocking hard on your door. I am Dominator, Inseminator, Creator and Destructor, and God in your house. I come to take, enslave and break, and violence I will purge and burn you to the ground. Burn to the ground. What do you living be? For the devil sends to death with me. I am fearless in my madness. And they come to find you and cast you to burn. Terrorists. Terrorists. Shock and awe.